is being held both in person at Village Hall and virtually via Zoom, and the agenda link is at the top of the Zoom link is at the top of the agenda. It is 6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and the agenda was properly posted, so we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so this is the public appearances, public's opportunity to speak. We ask that you please state your name, address, and limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. We'll start with individuals in the room and then move to individuals on Zoom. Is there anyone on, no one in the room? Is there anyone on Zoom? All right. So we'll move on to discuss and consider the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting of May 28th, 2025. Those minutes are linked in the agenda. I'm having problems speaking tonight.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. So we have presentation by Tim Olson and Steve Wempener of the concept plan for a potential new subdivision to be accessed from Vilas and Coffeetown roads. I'll turn it over to Aaron first and then
Yeah,
for the plan.
you guys can come up and sit though. Yeah, so Tim and Steve are the owners of the property. They're ultimately looking to team up with the developer to move forward with the project, but right now they're doing some of their preliminary work. And I'll talk more about this, but kind of based on the market analysis they're looking for something a little denser than what's currently allowed in the comp plan for this neighborhood. They're mostly here to kind of explain where they're at, what they're looking to do, and get a little bit of feedback on whether we'd be interested in making some changes to the plan to accommodate that.
So if you just turn the microphone on, the little guy speaking in the front. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Hi there, I'm Tim. Okay, good. So anyway, we started this quite a long time ago, and we've gotten to the point now where we're in the master plan and we've gotten through Carp C, and so we have sewer and water granted to the property. And what we've been doing is monitoring the network or the market in general. And I think the two examples that you got there are a pretty good showing of what we're seeing that right now is currently selling, you know, to the missing middle, where people are getting their first home, and you know, prices have gotten out of control. The normal 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, and right out of the box is almost $600,000. So there's ways to make it a little bit more dense, and the lot's not quite so big, and people are buying it, and they're buying it in a funny way, because what's happening is the builders are actually selling the homes prior to building them. And you're seeing that at Autumn Lake, and you're also seeing that at Red Tail Ridge. And that's something that we haven't seen for quite a long time in new construction. But they're able to, the way that they're configuring their neighborhoods, they're able to get the price down around $400,000, you know, or below $500 for sure. And believe it or not, people are buying it. I mean, that's a lot of money for a starter home, if you want to call it that, but it is the market. And so we're going to look, or we're trying to look like those neighborhoods that are catering to these people that are, you know, young and you know, just getting started in their housing. And that's it in kind of a nutshell. There's a lot of demand, and there's very little inventory. And in the used housing market, there's even less inventory. So you know, it's what's happening. People are starting to build, and the guys that are getting it right are building these planned unit developments, which allows for a little bit more density, and the main thing is to get that price down. And that's where we're headed with it. This has been going on for 18 years for us or so, since we got into the master plan. So it's finally gotten there. The factors of Cottage Grove growing like it is and everything have all kind of pointed to it, and we just think it's time now where we can put something together that's going to give us a housing blend that currently isn't available in Cottage Grove. And it's a price point. So that's the direction.
Tim, I don't,
Talk to us about what you were envisioning in the multifamily area.
Well, there's a mixture in there. There's probably some apartment buildings in there. That's gonna have to be discussed further. There'll be what they call twin homes, which is simply a duplex, but they're calling a zero lot line twin home now. And there's also 4 units like that, very similar. And there even is some 8 units going in some of the locations. And people are buying that, well, like I said before, it's even built, especially Red Tail Ridge. But I was talking to Viridian just the other day too, and they've got everything that they're putting up sold.
But if you look at things like Autumn Lake, the exteriors of the apartment buildings are very similar or match the exteriors of the 4 units and 8 units. So cosmetically, it has a real nice appearance, and that's something that we would try to achieve.
And a large amount of underground parking on those buildings, not above ground parking.
Yeah, so only surface parking for guests.
Would you envision the 8 units to be targeted for ownership, or would those?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's, a great
Yeah,
entry
yes.
point to get people into home ownership market and start to build that equity.
Yeah,
So I think that
exactly.
would be very beneficial.
Everybody, except for the apartment buildings. Yep.
You mentioned 400,000. Is there a price per square foot that you're kind of looking at? Because I was looking at some of the models that were out there, and there was 2,500 square foot, there was 1,800 square feet. Is there like a square foot price that you're looking at, or is it just kind of a general 400,000 is kind of where you're seeing
Well,
it?
for that amount of money, you're gonna get the 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and you're gonna have a shared wall.
Okay,
If you're gonna get up a little bit more towards 500,000, then you can have probably the 3 bedrooms, 2 baths again, and a 2-car garage, and that would they're calling them cottages now in some of the different ones, but that's just your single family home. But the lot size comes down around 5,000 square feet. And the people that are buying these, they're not too interested in. They're coming out of apartment buildings.
no maintenance, they don't want the maintenance, yeah.
And they both work. And so that's what they're buying, and they're not concerned. They're concerned with not being in an apartment anymore. So it's the millennials is what it is.
Yep, thank you.
I don't mind, all the Viridian stuff that's been like that, the cottage type, or they had a different term for it way back when, but that stuff's all weathered the storm very well, and it all still looks really nice years later, so I like that. I don't mind, I know at Autumn Lake on Andeline Road, they have, I think those are 4 units that they're all owner occupied.
At the very end of Lean Road, where it
Yeah.
hits Fallon Road there on the left,
Yeah,
yeah, those are twin homes.
I think
And there's some 4 units in there too.
okay, okay.
Yeah. They're alley loaded.
Yep,
So the garage is in the back and you come in on that alley, but then everything else is up above.
yeah,
So, but they sold those as fast as they built them.
yeah,
There's one for sale there right now. It's $390,000, but it's already got an offer on it.
okay.
It's only been out there a couple of weeks.
So I guess I like that concept and the twin home concept. I've never been really fond of great big apartment buildings, but,
Yep.
so I'd rather see more of the 4-unit and twin homes to get people into that type of product. It's my opinion.
Yep.
And maybe it's a question for Aaron. Usually the answer is we're good. But just things to consider, you're increasing the density. What stress does that put on utilities? Including Alliant Energy, power, water. I don't think we have a water tower down there anymore. We do have a very big pumping station. No, that's the lift station's over there. Maybe you can walk us through utilities, what potential impact we just need to be aware of.
Yeah, and it looks like Ty just turned his camera on, so I'll let him field that one.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, right now the utilities are kind of stubbed out, kind of by Bakken Park, on Vilas Road there. As you mentioned, the large lift station is right there on Vilas. The water main, it is in the ultimate master plan to have this area be served by both water and sewer. As far as, the water and sewer, the cost of all that, and that would all have to be kind of explored as the developer moves forward with this. But it is kind of in the master plan that these areas would be served.
I guess along with that, it takes quite a bit of time I would imagine, to build out a development this size. Like, what is your timeline to completion? Like, how fast would we be accommodating this type of growth? Is it a longer term development?
Well, some of that would probably happen right within the developer's agreement and where you guys stood on how fast you want it done. But just gauging what I've been watching for the last few years with Autumn Lake and with Red Tail Ridge, to do this project, it would probably be real close to 10 years. Because you can only, even if you got really aggressive and built 50 a year, you're still looking at 8.5 or 9 years to do it. So, yeah, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, the numbers look big, but across 10 years, that's...
Right. Yeah, you can only physically do it so fast.
Sure. Yeah, thank you.
Heidi stole my question. JP, do you have a question?
I do. Do you have an idea about that park conservation area in there? Because those are kind of two different ideas. I assume you probably have an idea of what you might consider for the park element versus the conservation side.
Well, along that ridge where all those pine trees are, that we've been thinking about, having walking paths for walking dogs and walking people and everything else. And then there's a bike path that goes just below that circles around to the backside and goes around the retention pond that's at the end of the road at Clark Street there that was just put in, so you could get the water from putting in all the parking around the rugby fields and everything. And then that comes out right there and then would go over and connect in the park to get to the Great Glacier Drum one. And then the other stuff that's just set aside for conservation is mainly back by where the creek is, giving the 200 feet or so of what it is, because the creek runs on the back side, the north side of the property. And that's all set aside back there for the things that the planned unit development. It allows for the smaller lot size so that you can bring them all into the current area that we're currently growing corn on, and then not disturb all the rest of the land and just use it as a big feature, because people are going to be looking out and they're going to have, a big ridge with pine trees, and they're going to have a whole bunch of green space. And then, of course, the big park is across the street.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
Tim actually at one point did some tours of the property back, I think, when you were trying to get it in the comp plan, way back.
Yeah, quite a few of those. Good memory. Yeah, it's taken a while, but, you know, now with the things that are going on, there's that missing middle housing is gonna become more and more important, and people are gonna be wanting that, and we're trying to, there has been people that contacted us, you know, that are, there's some of this going on, and I don't know, but, you know, they're building all single-family homes, and then they're renting them all. But we're trying to stay away from, you know, all of that. We want home ownership, because I just think that's a better equation in the end, you know, for the people that live there.
There's been a lot of developers, ring Don's bell, that come through, and I've got uppity. I got spicy at them for saying we're building affordable housing at $600,000. But I think you're the first group, refreshingly, in many years, sitting on this board where you're like, hey, this is actually the problem, and here's actually how we're going to solve it. So it's really good, I think, for Cottage Grove to have the way you're thinking through this. So it'll be interesting to see how this continues to develop. The biggest issue is taxes and the cost of building. I think reducing the lot size helps for the individual, for the tax base. So now it's going to be spread out. So from a village and the school perspective, it's still going to be covered, but an individual, the burden will be less. And I think you're solving part of the construction issue as well with the platforms that you're looking to build. So it's very refreshing to have you here today. Thanks.
Good. That's what we're shooting for.
All right, any other comments, questions? Aaron?
So, like I brought up earlier, there would have to be a comp plan change to facilitate, you know, this kind of scheme that they're talking about. Right now, for this area, we had a minimum of 65% of the units have to be single family. What they're proposing is more than half in the various multifamily categories. So we can't take action on that, but kind of looking for feedback. Is that the kind of direction you want us to go? Do you want me to draft something up that would kind of address the neighborhood?
Is it multifamily if they own the unit? Like if it's an 8-unit, but they're individually owned,
Yeah.
is that still?
It's the building type.
It's
not
the building, okay.
ownership.
I mean, I just want to echo what Alex has said earlier in his comments, that I think it's worthwhile to explain because of the reason why you all are going about this, which I also do appreciate. I think it's worthwhile to explore making that change to the comp plan.
Maybe we could list out like some of the types of, like the twin home or the 8-unit or 4-unit, like if you have kind of a figure of about how many of each of those. I know it's probably, so it's just further
Yeah.
broken down between just multifamily and,
Would worry me about that since they're not partnered with a developer yet. They're
Sure.
talking to different people.
Okay.
Different developers may have different ideas about that, and we don't want to kind of plan ourselves into a corner that we
Okay.
have to change it again.
But the idea there is to get the right kind of a relationship all across the board between us, the developer, the builder, and the village early on, and get them in here early to talk, and then get some feedback. Well, no, that's not the flavor we're looking for. And then, okay, go to the next one, you know? Or see if they're gonna be flexible, because what developers are gonna do is try to get everything they can get. That's that.
Yeah, and we can provide some guidance in there if we don't want big 100-unit buildings or, 4-story buildings. We can say we don't want that.
yeah, I appreciate that. Getting us involved early in the process before I invest a lot and before its ability to make a lot of changes, so I think that's great.
Right, it's, we don't wanna make a mess.
Aaron, do you need any other direction?
Nope, sounds like the feedback is pretty positive here, so we can keep moving forward.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
All right, I guess moving on, future agenda items, there was a list from the last meeting, which I'm assuming some of those will come back.
Their last meeting, but near the Commerce Park, kind of behind Johnson Health Tech, someone's looking to do a indoor sports facility, so they're gonna come in with annexation, zoning, site plan, conditional use permit at the next meeting is what they're shooting for. Haven't heard back from Toby's Auto yet if they're, to confirm whether they want to be on. That was what they had been shooting for, but I want to make sure. The lady that was here looking to add units to her 2-unit building, we put her in touch with the fire department, and I haven't heard since then. I think possibly the code requirements were a little,
Strict.
yeah. But they may still come back.
All right, otherwise we'll move on to number 8.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second, non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Computer shuts off. My nephew,
30 seconds.
my nephew's going to Cooperstown with his